sucked, and I really don't get why it was called Inferno either. I mean, it had a decent plot, it was entertaining enough, but it definitely was not a hellraiser movie. And a lot of the characters don't really have development, they just kind of focus on the main character. So when other characters die, you don't really care. Plus, the main character is an absolute douchebag, but we're supposed to like him for some reason. We literally get introduced to him and to the scenes we see before, like, all the murders. There's only like one murder right now, so they don't think it's a serial killer or whatever, or they don't think it's like a big thing yet. Anyway, we get introduced to him, and these are the two things we get introduced to him as. One, he used to be a school bully, and he talks about how he harassed and made this guy's life hell just because he didn't believe he was going to be a good basketball player. And his partner, for some reason, doesn't even think it's a big deal. And then the other one is when he's in the car, he's kind of like narrating to himself in this movie. He does that quite a few times during this movie. And he talks about how it's okay to cheat on his wife because most marriages fail. And what she doesn't know won't hurt her. Yeah, I don't like this guy. He's a douchebag. We also get even more reasons to not like him, because he frames the guy that was willing to help him. Basically, he gets connected to a crime because when he was cheating on his wife, the girl got murdered not too long after he left, and his fingerprints were obviously all over the place. And so he convinces Tony to help him get rid of the fingerprints, because he tells Tony, hey, look me in my eyes, you know I would not kill this girl. So Tony gets rid of all the fingerprints, and guess what he does to Tony? He takes his pen and his cigarettes, and he leaves them at the crime scene. Yeah, what a great friend. Later in the movie, he brings it up while smirking. And Tony was like, how could you? I trusted you, man. And then he leaves. Like, I do not like this character. And then to top it all off, apparently, of course, we don't know his relationship with his parents, if it was abusive or whatever, but we find out that both his parents are sick and living in a hospital, and he doesn't visit them. He also doesn't really care about his daughter. He, hardly does anything with her. We only see the daughter and the wife for 3 scenes, and then they're killed in their 4th scene. And this wasn't even really a Pinhead movie. He probably had a good 1 minute of screen time. This movie focuses on this guy, the engineer. He's supposedly the street criminal and all that. And well, that's the whole reason. Anyway, I lost track of what I was about to say, but the engineer, we finally find out who he is, and then he randomly just transforms into Pinhead. He's like, wait, you're the engineer? Which the plot twist was actually really good and worked. And they randomly just have him turn into Pinhead for 5 seconds and go, hey, I'm not the killer. Nobody thought you were the killer. We thought it was the engineer for the entire movie. Which pretty much proved it when the engineer showed up and he was like, you weren't around your family, that's why they're dead. And the engineer, the plot twist worked perfectly, because he was the counselor at the police station. So whenever they tried to solve the engineer crime, and every time they'd go a little bit crazy, get a little bit risky, the chief would send him to the counselor. They would talk to the counselor. He would know everything they knew. He had files on all of them. He knew the reason they were there talking to him. Perfect plot twist. Obviously, he was the engineer. They literally state that he knows all about the cops, so it made them look crazy, because how did this random street thug that runs an underground crime thing know every cop, what they were doing, what they were involved with? It made perfect sense, and then it just kind of stops. Like, oh, here's Pinhead. Pinhead says he's not the killer. Pinhead disappears. The engineer disappears too. Oh, now there's like this weird thing that they're not explaining what at all is going on. Oh, he's in his childhood home now. Oh, his parents are trying to kill him. Oh, there's this random snitch that he was talking to earlier that got killed because he pushed him to go after the engineer. Oh, there's Tony. And then, oh, now he's killing himself. Oh, now he's screaming. Like, it was just very confusing and weird. And they also have, like, one of the same jokes they made in a previous movie. Like, in the third movie, they had this joke about pedophilia for whatever reason. There's this douchebag character named J.P. Morgan. The main character shows up, and she notices that he's flirting with him. So she's like, well, I'm out of middle school, so you wouldn't like me. And then in this movie, he talks to Bernie, and he goes, you wouldn't like Daphne because she's over 18. I don't get why these pedophile jokes are here at all. And to top it all off, it didn't really matter in the other movie because it didn't really go anywhere. It wasn't important to the plot. It wasn't important to the plot in this movie either. But to top it all off, it's kind of ironic because a big part of this portion of the plot is devoted to him wanting to save a child. Yet apparently this Bernie guy might be a pedophile. Like, okay, how does that make any sense? He wants to save a child while apparently leaving a child predator on the streets. And yeah, Pinhead like has 2 scenes, and he disappears after talking for a little bit in both of them. It's a very ridiculous movie that I didn't know what was going on hardly at all. Very weird movie. I don't get why it was supposedly a Pinhead movie when he had 2 scenes and he disappears after just talking. I did not like this movie. It could have been a decent cop movie with the whole engineer plot twist, but definitely not a good Pinhead movie. Very ridiculous movie. I'm starting to miss the first movie, because the first movie had a simple plot that made sense.